I want a demon hunter.
All right. Sharice says she thinks she wants to play Demon Hunter. Do you want to join Discord? You don't want to join Discord?
I don't have my microphone. Not my good one.
You want to use my headset?
No, because it won't work on there. What?
It's USB. It might be a little warm though.
Oh, it doesn't bother me though.
Trade me headphones then. This has a microphone.
Oh. Okay.
Yours doesn't. I'm gonna host this. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. I might play a wizard. I haven't played a wizard in quite a while, so I think that's what I'll do. All right. Will Mandy throw a fit if I try to invite Sharice to the Lofty channel? No. To chat for Sharice. To join us in voice chat. That would work. I mean, I've got one for my stream. So, whichever. Oh, shh. Then let's go over to mine. Whoops. Whoops, that did not work right. I said let's go over to mine and accidentally join the channel. PM'd it to Jess. And then... Okay, I'm heading over to mine. Oh, that works. I can hear everyone, yeah. There we go. Hello? All right, awesome. All right, in the stream channel, no one can join it unless I manually drag them. So we won't have someone popping on to post memes like All Star did one day, or yeah, because we were in general and he just suddenly joined chat and was listening to us and didn't say anything. He just posted pictures. It was weird. All right, so new hero. I'll play the wizard. Right. Are you on, Sharice? Have you rolled your character and everything? You're all set?
No.
You just need a name?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. And you can hear everyone, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. There we go. And let's see. Game settings. We'll play through campaign. Start at 1. Any difficulty you guys want to start on?
Seasonal?
Non-seasonal.
That's what I thought.
What level do you want to start on, Shrews?
Okay.
You don't care? She says she doesn't care.
I'm ready to die.
Let's. Let's do expert. That sounds good to me. All right. Start game. And then, well, that didn't. Once. Okay. And did you join Shreese?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Quick join was there.
Do what?
Quick join.
Oh, that works. I was wondering why it wasn't on there. You're a wizard, Harry. Huh. I'm a wizard. Awesome. Just waiting on Night Raven.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. You're.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Oh, you're adding your Paragon points. It's for making it way past the level. I'm not gonna add any. I think that's where it's from. My guy has 278 Paragon. Yes. You following us, Sharice?
No.
I noticed.
You don't know my life. I have things to do, okay?
Whoops.
That's kind of what I'm at.
Ah. Right. This is here because I can actually like start crafting things now. Yeah, right. I'm not going to. Although, yeah, all the items in my stash transferred over too. Oh, right, but none of them are the really good items. I've just got a bunch of essence. All right, slaughtered calf in. Everyone here? Everyone is here. loincloth. Right? Kicks, you should probably put some clothes on. I just stopped in to grab the book.
Oh my god.
I shoot laser beams.
How do I fix the volume on Discord?
Okay. Why are they too loud? Too quiet?
You guys are screaming at me.
Oh, when we can hardly hear you.
That's
Well, okay, what you want to do, Shreese, is come down here to your volume. And you should be able to right click on it, open volume mixer, and then turn Discord up or down. There you go. It's already way up. Wow.
I turned this up. But...
Talk.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. You just have to hold the mic to your face.
Oh, that's...
I got tape.
You don't need to hear me. It's
It's
fine.
alright. Yeah, just, I'm not concerned. I'm okay running around with naked women with axes. Used to be quite a pastime of mine. Well, I think you do too. Alright. Oh. Right. Shreese, you incoming? Yep, there you are.
Huh.
Indeed. Ah. I just realized I was shooting the NPC in the back and it wasn't doing any good. Thick clothed pants. Beautiful. You're... it now looks like you're wearing the same thing that the witch doctor is. Oh. Yeah. That's a good way to do it. It's just body paint? Oh, it is just body paint on you. I am entering the musty cellar. Yeah. All of us are doing practically nothing. Right? That's nice. Health regen. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff over here, guys.
I opened the chest.
I got a chest, please. Well, you know, if you drop those on the ground, your party members can pick them up. It doesn't look like you have a tunic. Well, That's rather fetching. But which one has the higher armor class? Three. You want the free stuff, Shreese?
No.
There's. Do you have a chess piece?
I don't.
You don't? All right, pick the one up off the floor.
Well then. Thank you.
You're welcome. Beautiful.
What the fuck? What the hell is that?
So beautiful. What's up, Shreese?
I don't know what I was just trying to hit.
Oh, I don't either.
These controls are a lot different than what I remember.
There is. That's the direction we're supposed to be going once we get all this stuff. But Sharice is split. Yeah, Sharice is splitting the party.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Like with her behavior, she still got candy and a gift from Walmart from Mom.
Wait for everyone.
There was nothing, literally nothing done to her. She literally just got handed over everything she wanted. It was irritating.
Am I supposed to be dying?
So frustrating.
Are you supposed to be dying? Well,
So Mom didn't come
if you don't have any healthier alternatives, I guess so.
And then when she realized she got left without her, that's when she threw another little hissy fit.
Yeah, level 4. Yay. Beautiful. Beautiful. They change with the runes you get. Oh, so that's changed. I gotta fix that. I see. Okay, so for some reason, my...
Damn. That's awesome.
Sorry. I was just able to glance at my stream and realize that the scaling was way off, so I'm trying this again. Nope, it's still, like, ridiculously tiny, and I don't know why. Hmm. The world may never know. I guess I can do that. Okay, I know what I'll do. Change this to windowed full screen. That should fix it. Alright, I'm slowly catching up. Sorry, guys.
Ooh, cool, I got it
Yeah. Let's see. All right. I'm slowly working my way there. I keep pausing and adjusting some things because they don't quite look right on the stream. But hey, I leveled up. Okay. I am going to pull out one of my wonderful bags of tricks. Let's see. Is it here? I think I can. Is it under achievements? It's not. I don't remember. Maybe I'm not able to pull out... Oh, awesome. Oh, he teleports. That's annoying. And Joe. And Joe. One whole yard. Yeah, it's like 3 feet. Mm-hmm. Let's see. All right. To the place. Why is there an echo? Wow. I see that. I have a club. It does more damage than my wand. Yeah, go for it. Talk to Haedrake here and disenchant it. Let's put Magic Missile back up because I like it more. I can throw galaxies at people. Kind of sucks that all of my awesome legendary items are gone, though. You were attacked by a ghost? It's alright. I am making pants. fun.
What is that?
What's what?
All these, the messages. It's. I think it's all the stuff from your trust before or something.
Wait.
Go to your messages. Down. No. Go back to the game. Go back in game and then.
Indeed, I. Okay.
Wait, no. Not the chat button, but has the little envelope.
I don't have that.
Oh, never mind. Sorry. Mine is from. It's my inventory. It's all my stuff.
Everyone's banners are so pretty. All right. Everyone else ready? Oh, that takes the fun out of it. Galaxy of Pain. Do you guys know the story of Leah's father? Okay. Do you know okay, have you played Diablo 1? The hero from Diablo 1 at the very end of the game, he defeats Diablo, gets the Black Soul Stone, and then stabs himself in the forehead with it for some reason. And when he does, he becomes the new Prime Evil. The new Diablo. Out of it. Ugh. Face tanking. So true. Yeah. A lot of them is. Most angels are. Did you just breathe bats? Beautiful. Damn, man. That is some heartburn. Yeah. And ghostly guard dogs. Yep. Do we go into the deep, dark temple? Right. I have a club. I beat things from afar.
No, I don't like talking. Hi. People
His
can't hear
dogs
me
do,
when
though.
I
Be
talk,
careful.
though. Right?
I charge on ahead and open the door. I got stuck on a pillar.
You're so special.
He's very special. I don't like furniture. Ooh, a lesser wand. I got a new wand. I am a great and powerful magician. Right? I can't wait till we get to the bosses. Oh, yeah. So fun. Yay. Because you can use anything. To stab people? that that is a question. I'm okay with that. And Deckard Cain, he's been in every Diablo game. So is Adria, though. Oh, so is Diablo. I mean, he's kind of the namesake. I like that they leave him alone and come for us. Adventuring Shortbow of the Leech. Talking to Uncle Deckard. Well, note, I didn't call him Wise Man. Sometimes it's random. Yay, I got into Reptilian Eagle Orb. Please explain how that works.
I got it pretty.
I've got a bow for any who may want it. 3 life per hit. Monsters gain 4, give Grant 4 bonus experience. Can it? Don't want to hear it. Oh. So much fun. I love nothing more than murdering women. I know, didn't expect that from the cleric, did you? So there is an achievement if you can somehow get Hadrig to land the final blow, killing his wife. I don't think we can on this game mode. I feel like he's not gonna, especially not with your dogs. Nope, your dog's got it. It's alright. You can't do that until you get the sacrifice spell. I'm following. I'm working on it. Oh, hey. Yeah, actually, I didn't know that you'd been watching the whole time. Hello. Party splits again. Everywhere, the leapers. Ho. Yay. I now have my force push spell.
What the hell?
I'm just being cool.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys think? Do you think I could be a mascot for Taco Tuesday like this? Yeah, she lost it.
Sometimes I don't know how I feel about you.
That means you don't hate me sometimes.
Just sometimes. What the hell?
I found leather cuffs.
I need
Neat. I got a stabby.
oops, so bad.
Please don't shoot the barbarian in the back. She doesn't like it.
I didn't mean to, it was an accident.
Ah.
I was trying to walk. I got a thing that I can't use.
Neat.
So I'm gonna drop it for people to steal. It's a stabber. A long stabber. That's its official name now.
Oh, a mojo.
Ooh, I got a new one.
I think it's getting dark. I don't know. What? You do have a hat. I see that.
I got a Magic Mojo. If you want it. Here, have a thing.
That is an infused Wangadol, not a Magic Mojo.
It said Magic Mojo on it. Yeah. Oh god. That didn't work right.
Yay. Revel 10. Most assuredly. Hot dogging? What? Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Fun. So, ceremonial garb. So, we have to pick one of the 4 tombs to enter. North, south, east, and west. Sounds good to me. Let's do it. Yep. An adventuring Wangadol of focus. Let's see. 1 to 2 damage, 13 intelligence, and monster kills grant 2 experience. Is that better than your Wangadol? Right, but it's not like I can equip it. The Wangadol's over here. Yeah, right. Explosive frogs are cool. I think it goes farther. I got magic pants. Right?
Why?
I died 0 times.
You're a butt.
I'm a butt.
Yeah, how dare you not die?
I have I have a 16.0 magic crossbow. You want that?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll take things.
Yeah, are they one-handed? Yeah, she can dual wield them.
Nuh-uh.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, you can dual wield crossbows. It doesn't make sense, but you can do it.
Fuck yes, I will. Oh my god.
How do you reload it?
Yes, pew pew.
Well, I'm teleporting out.
Oh,
Yeah, that's probably. I think that's a really good idea. Actually, if you leave this stuff in your stash, it still draws from it. An apprentice shiv. Cause right? No, I've got a a pretty good wand right now. I will make those. The Apprentice Heavy Boots. +5 Vitality. That's cool. I am dropping some +8 Strength boots. Armor class 17. Cool. Wait, you have sandwiches? Okay, but I'm watching you. Throws a galaxy at you. I'll give you half of a sandwich. That's a number.
I forgot I have those.
Well, you should have remembered that you had those.
I have pets, and I forgot about them.
Yeah. Pets are fun.
Oh, I don't know. Season 9 came out, and I played that first day. So not very long.
Yeah, because right now it's on the in-between seasons between 9
I
and 10.
know. It feels like it just came out.
And then Necromancer. Soon.
Those are mine. Why are you eating what's mine?
Because you bought them and presented them to me.
It was a sacrifice.
Well, I'm hanging out in the creepy cemetery by myself because that's what people of the arcane belief do. So pretty. Is that what is that? The same reason that I have a giant spider following me around. Exactly. Hey, things are dying faster. I don't blame them. I'd die too if I was faced against this. Should I be a melee magician? Why not? I want to be a muscle wizard. Have what? we... Oh. I don't know. And Joe. And Joe. I'm tanking Timmy. Timmuck the shamed.
You're shaming him.
It's because I'm here. Because when I'm in a group, everyone's lucky but me. I have 1 gold, 1 legendary. Joe, Joey, and Joseph. Does Billy wear camo? Oh. Yay, the moving wall.
Oh my god. I wasn't expecting that. So sweet.
Haha. Damn. Thank you. I am. Yes, I do. Not much. Let's see. Do 10%. Let's see. Increases the effectiveness of the gem socketed by 78%. So that's maybe a 17%. Wait, did I just get what I thought I did? Okay, that makes sense. I got a pretty okay helm. I can handle that. Because I thought it gave me a monk's gem for the quest, and I'm like, what the hell? I can't even equip that. You need stuff, or you find good stuff? Is it on fire? Okay. That's cool. Beautiful.
Hello, Sharice.
Hi, how are you doing?
Said hello to you.
Hmm,
Okay, how are you?
pretty good.
My baby has a heartbeat. That's awesome. I gotta see it today.
The only item I had in my stash is Leoric's crown and a couple basic gems.
You have those pants too? Go, take them off.
All right.
These are the worst looking pants I've ever seen in my life. Jesus, Eileen. Charlie came over and saw me today with those pants on. I told her you look like a crackhead. You look like you got too long for your pants, so you sew extra piece of clothing on. That's what it makes it look
We're at the
like.
cathedral.
That was her excuse.
Gotta talk louder than that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's so much better. What the heck, though? All right, so it's a pair of headphones that has an inline mic on the cord. So she's got the cord draped over one ear, the headphone in the other ear, and it hangs down right in front of her face. It almost looks like the audio equivalent of an oxygen mask. Beautiful.
Making all my weird noises.
You should probably get that looked at. I know a pretty good.
That sounds sexy.
There's an apothecary down the road. I have a bubble in my hand.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say your stick's on fire.
I don't know. This is pretty cool.
There's so much screaming and death. I love it.
Ha. Sorry, I saw an item on the ground and it reminded me of an old joke that I will tell once it quiets down. Amulet! A legendary amulet has fallen. I am identifying this. Squirt's necklace. Cold skills deal 7% more damage, 27 intelligence, crit damage increased by 29%, 109 life per hit, 12 extra gold, 8 bonus experience.
Right?
I was once like that.
Oh my god.
So, with me doing bonus cold damage, I need to change all of my skill alignments to where they focus cold.
Where is everyone?
I like murder.
Lisa, is that you with that crab creature?
Yeah, that's me with the crab creature.
Why do you have that?
Why do I have crabs? Ask my
Well-
ex.
Oh god.
Oh, but anyway, so I found some hide breeches on the ground, and it reminded me of a joke I'd heard years ago. Why do thieves wear leather armor? Or thieves and rogues? Because it's literally made out of hide. I am very proud of myself. Yes. It's made out of hide. As in, it's hidden.
I think we need to see other people.
Good. Ha, he told a joke. It's made out of hide. That one was. It was. It was. But that's why I told it.
Why did I go closer to all this?
Well, I thought the phrase was fight fire with fire, but if you fight flaming bats with regular bats, I guess it's okay. Look out, Shreese.
Oh my
Don't
God.
stand there.
Don't stand where? There's too much going on. I'm hiding. But where did the tornadoes come from?
Grats.
Good lord. Ooh, I got things.
Don't know. What are you looking at? I'm okay with this because if you're in the middle of the crowd, maybe the crowd's not surrounded around me.
That was unnecessary.
12 life kill. Well, I was told that Diablo would steal your life. I hear a goblin.
It's downstairs. Excuse me.
Not until we hit it. Yep. So wait, don't go down there, Shreese.
I
Don't
didn't touch it.
don't go to fight it until we get.
I'm
Yeah.
not touching it.
Where'd it run to? Oh, perfect. I froze it. It's no longer froze. Beautiful. I got a Badlands trophy. I don't know what that is. It's bracers. No. Ooh. Nice. Nice. Only usable on the monk. Nobody's playing monk. That is... My documentation is the fact that I can shoot ice out of my... I assume it's my hands, but honestly, it's just the front portion of my body. Ooh, a spellbook of focus. Wow. Indonating Wand of the Slaughter. Ooh. Very. Shh. That would be fun. I will do it. Mine. We can't. Yeah. You can only take the Templar if you're playing in single player. It is, but it isn't. Like, it gives me more damage, but less in other places. Do you want it back? Okay. Yeah, mine's mostly full, so we could just go through our portal, though. I love that the wizard doesn't actually hold the spellbook, it just floats above his hand. What the heck is that? The helmets. Nice. Ugh. Ugh. Ouch.
I see you're reading a book there. Is it a good book?
It's the best book.
Oh, that's great.
It talks about how Frodo threw the ring.
Oh, that's sweet. If only you read it the right way. Didn't just like.
Right? How to make the air around you shimmer slightly so people wonder just how magical you are. What the fuck? Oh my god, Cerise, hurry up.
I'm sorry, I was doing things. I'm coming.
We were gonna tell you, but we forgot. I got scared. It's- right.
Oh god.
Billy's a little strange. Billy has his moments. Well, let's see. What do you think? My one viewer might be asleep. Let's see. His last message was 20 minutes ago. Yep. He's a 14-year-old and he's on spring break. I am so cool.
Sweet, you think that.
Well, got no choice. I have to kick his ass now. He said I would never defeat him, so now I have to defeat him. Who wants to assemble Leoric? I have a freeze that kind of works on occasion. I can also slow time in an area. Not surprised. He's a boss. Oh, I froze him. He can be frozen. I froze him as he teleported to me. Leoric's crown? I got it. Let's see. That one is intelligence, so that one's actually better for me than the dexterity one I've been wearing. You can identify items from your inventory. Yeah, the tome's useful if you have several items because then you can identify them all at once. This is a privacy bubble. Don't enter.
Don't be fucking rude. What is your problem?
We didn't want to scare him away.
You're not a nice lady. No, I'm talking to Asa.
I'm also not a lady.
You are the prettiest lady.
I'm a pretty princess.
We don't talk about that part of your life, okay?
Okay.
Why'd you have to put that so close to my face?
So that we could hear you.
I don't want to be heard.
But we want to hear you.
It's embarrassing.
Is it?
I don't know.
Oh! Hey, so
I got a thing.
the last message that one viewer said, I saw that he messaged. I didn't actually read it. It says, gotta go, but I'll see you soon.
Cute. Hey, I have a wand.
Hooray.
Here, come get this wand if you're on the floor.
Feather Torrent. That sounds fun. Be using that tonight.
It sounds sexy.
It's yellow. Oh, I thought it said retractable links, but I got intractable links.
I need
They is pants. Oh, and I picked up a ring sometime. That's cool.
Excuse me, sir. I think you need to calm down. I can hear you in this ear. Just slightly.
Boo.
No. And there's just a little bit of.
Delay.
Yes. So it's really weird to hear it, and then it just kind of keeps going. And it just won't stop.
So she's got me in stereo.
Like just now, it sounds like you're hissing. Because you're like, so.
So. Hi.
It's just your echo.
Tired of waiting.
Not everything's about you.
Tell me one thing that's not about me. Oh. That's a good argument.
Those pants, though.
I can take them off if you want them.
No, I got my own pants, thank you.
Well, you're dressing like you dress kind of like a homeless person, so I thought you were a hipster.
Fields of Misery. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's a great place.
Sounds like it. What the fuck are those?
So we teleport to the Cemetery of the Forsaken, and that'll lead us to the Fields of Misery.
I'm scared.
My first witch doctor, his name was Ting Tangwala.
Oh my god.
There's a lot going on. Ooh, a pool of reflection. I'm gonna stare at myself in it. Right? So far, I've had a lot of luck with freezing things solid as soon as they hit me in the face. This kind of sucks, though. I don't like frost spells, but I'm using them because I have an amulet that gives me better frost spells. Right? Shiny. Oh.
What?
The music. I could faintly hear it in the background.
It's not me.
I know it's not you, but I thought it was some of the voices in my head just suddenly becoming more audible than usual.
I could hear
because it
too.
sounded like something screaming almost.
Do we need to talk about why you're hearing screaming in your voice?
I hear screaming in my head all the time. It's repressed thoughts mostly.
Okay. That makes-
Screams internally.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep trying to kill people that I shouldn't kill.
Please don't kill your allies.
I don't mean to, I get confused when they have bugs surrounding them. And weird, creepy, crawly dogs.
They're not bugs, they're dogs.
No, I know, but you have a bug, and then he has creepy dogs. I mean, Joe and Joe.
No, these are Billy. Joe died.
Joe died? Oh. The triplets. I'm so sorry. Oh god. Please don't touch me.
Let's do it.
I got a two-handed sword, if anyone wants it. Let me still look at this. What is
It's 60.
this? Yeah, 60.
It's yellow. She's not here.
I know, I'm not here. It's over here now.
Yeah, so
So far. Where are you people? Come back. Here.
the Knight's Craft.
I have.
Oh, Treasure Goblin. Oh, you went inside. You're fighting the Treasure Goblin. Are you okay with him turning into a walking pet shop, though? Because he basically is. I don't know either. It's okay. I'm just glad I'm not alone. Are they house trained? Awesome. I got a U staff and a quiver. Paul sounds delightful. I got a plus 28 strength belt.
I found this.
She's a paladin. Oh God, so much death. No. Fighting in a rave is not a good idea. I like I like magic sticks. Whoa, it's actually a magic stick I have never encountered before.
Ooh, new things.
Oh,
Oh, shit.
so it doesn't do the same. It doesn't do the it doesn't give me that bonus for the fire bats, but everything else on it I can use. So it is. Is that the butcher's dagger? Oh, the barber. There we go. Yeah. Sure. We should really do that though before we pick up the buffs. I am doing interpretive dancing.
What is your problem?
I'm. Who said I had a problem? I
It
don't.
looks like it. I'm
It
sorry.
it does. It does look like I have a problem.
I wanna dance.
No.
Yeah.
What the?
What the hell is that? I'm sorry, I said you had a problem.
I slow everything down.
No. Thank you for giving my spotlight.
Yep.
Whatever, stop. It looks like my raven's trying to clap for me.
Maybe it is.
It's beautiful.
Did you think of that? No, of course not.
Oh shit, that was not the button I meant to push.
Magic missile. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. Don't worry, guys. I'm running to you. Yeah, it's for the uh yeah.
Here's a wand.
Cool.
No. Do you want the wand?
No. What was what? One of her abilities. She gets red demonic wings of demonness.
They're helpful.
It's a physical manifestation of her hatred. She has a lot of hatred. It is. It's also a little contagious. So, wow, you just hit level 20 finally. No, I mean like she got the achievement for it, which means she hasn't been there before. Ah, gotcha. Hey, this door doesn't open very often. That's cool. Yep. After this dungeon, I'm going to have to call it quits because I'm falling asleep here in front of the computer. We did. Made it to 20? 21? Yeah. I love that haunt spell, though. That was my favorite thing about the Witch Doctor. We can keep going. We can finish this dungeon. Because if we stop in the middle of the dungeon, we won't be able to restart. So we might as well get the reward. Nice. Okay. And one of these corners. Yep, here it is. I guess we don't need to activate that, though. We can just teleport back to town. Mm-hmm. It's because friends don't actually make life easier, they make life harder.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.